Okay, so I've got some exciting news. We are relaunching Row and Table. If you've followed this channel, if you've subscribed, you've probably noticed that it sort of died, and it didn't just not just the channel died, but the business really died. I when I started this thing several years ago, we had a couple projects. Some of them were successful, some of them weren't. It was a really rough experience for me. And basically, I had to shut the company down. I kept the domain, I kept the LLC, but I had to shut the company down. And about that time, when I shut the company down, I got a job offer from a friend of mine named Dan Ermler. And Dan works in the software industry and has for years. He had just sold a successful SaaS software to a larger company, and he had a couple other projects that he wanted me to help him with. And so we've worked together now for a while. And we realized as we started working together that it was going really well. It was a good partnership. And we started hiring more developers and taking on more projects and taking on outside projects. And it was just sort of confusing. And so recently we've decided to relaunch Row and Table as a partnership. And that's a huge benefit for me. It's a huge benefit for him. And we're going to have a completely different focus this time around. We're not going to spend so much time talking about internal software and Airtable. We're going to talk about SaaS software, software as a service, software that runs on the web, and creating that from scratch. So, in light of that, I wanted to spend just a few minutes talking about the main mistakes that I made as the owner of Row and Table the first time I tried to start a software consulting company. The first thing that was wrong with it is that I couldn't do the job myself. When I first launched Row and Table, I thought I knew a lot about web development. In actuality, I didn't. I was close. I certainly knew more than most people, but there were just a lot of things that I couldn't do. And when I shut it down, I spent a long time just learning how to do everything that the people I was hiring can do. Because honestly, I had to do it because I didn't have any money to hire them. And so I started learning how to make software myself. And I made a few software as a service projects, personal projects from start to finish with no help. And I learned Laravel and I learned Vue and I learned Tailwind. I just learned a ton. And here's the deal. I'm not a great developer by any means. But at this point, I could jump in and do the job of anyone that I hire. I can read their code and understand what's going on. And I might not be as fast as they are, but I could do it. And that makes me a much better manager. It makes me much better at hiring people. I know the right questions to ask, I know how long things will take. It's just very, very helpful thing. The second thing that I was it was a big mistake that I made the first time around that I've learned to fix in the meantime is I didn't charge enough. Now that might sound weird, but I always felt weird charging for my services, and I would tend to undercharge or charge with like these razor thin margins where I was almost certain to lose money. And after a couple years of this, I just wasn't making any money. In fact, I was in some serious debt. And one quote changed that for me. Dan actually said to me once, he said, Ryan, you have to charge enough that you can keep your promises. And that was like, whoa. Probably more than anything else, hearing that helped me understand that I was actually hurting people by not charging enough for what I was doing. Honestly, clients want something more than money or they wouldn't be paying money in the first place. They want the job to be done right. They want me to communicate well. They want us to be excited about the project. They want us to hire good people. And in order for those things to happen, I had to rethink how I was charging customers. Now, we're still probably on the low end for the industry, but nowhere near as low as we were charging before. And honestly, if you knew what we were charging and you found somebody charging that, you should run away because it's not going to work out well for you. The third thing that I realized the hard way was that I didn't hire the right people. Now, we had good people, they just weren't reliable people. They weren't the kind of people that we could rely on, especially for client work. And I had to learn the hard way the importance of finding the right people and paying them well, and had to learn what to look for when you hire designers and developers. I had to learn that communication and self management are just as important, probably more important than their ability to code or their ability to design. And honestly, I lost a ton of money because there's a quote someone said, there's nothing more expensive than a cheap developer, and I had to learn that the hard way. Fourth lesson: I didn't spend enough time communicating. Now, when a client hires you to do a big project, they're taking on a huge risk. It's a big financial risk. It's a lot of money, but they're also investing an incredible amount of time and intellectual capital into the project. And I was never terrible at communication, but I just wasn't great at it either. And I didn't realize how important it was to constantly be communicating progress and pitfalls and all that stuff with our clients. Now, the last thing that I did wrong the first time around was I didn't have solid project management practices. When we first started, I didn't realize how much we needed a project management workflow. I mean, we tried every project management tool out there. We tried Airtable, we tried Asana, we tried basically everything that I can think of. You name a project management tool, I've probably used it. And I can't even remember all of them. Most of the time, we ended up using GitHub and communicating with GitHub, which is okay. We had all kinds of communications tools that we were using, Slack and Skype and all kinds of different. It was a mess. It really just was a mess. And one of the first things that Dan did when we started working together was he sent me to get Scrum certified. And I went through some serious project management training. And Dan and I are both project management geeks. We're just constantly talking about project management, reading up on project management, honing our project management skills. We're big fans of Basecamp. We use Basecamp to manage our projects and plan out our work. We plan out our work in 2 to 3 week sprints, and we try to communicate at various points throughout the sprint with the clients and be in constant communication with our team. And it's really helped. So those are the 5 things. Again, I didn't know enough myself. I didn't charge enough. I didn't hire the right people. Didn't spend enough time communicating. Didn't have solid project management practices. Look, I am so excited about this new iteration of Rowan Table. And we're going to be putting out content constantly on this channel. We're starting a new podcast called The School of SaaS. There'll be more details coming out about that. Blog post on the Rowan Table website. The Rowan Table website is being redone. And we've done a lot of awesome projects that I can't wait to show and talk about.